Hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm UVM. Now, a few weeks ago I visited Morrison's in Clacton-on-Sea. They've built a new charging site next to their brand new store, which essentially I thought was so good that I would do a quick video about it. I was visiting my parents, which is why I was there and why I use my phone instead of usual camera equipment. But I thought, credit where credit's due, this has been done properly. It's like they've listened to electric car drivers as to what they want. There were 6 rapid chargers of varying speeds. There were, I think, 8 fast chargers, some 22, some 7, even a couple of disabled spots that were charging only as well. CCS, CHAdeMO, essentially every person could charge at any speed they wanted to, and I thought, well, this has been done properly. Since then, I've been contacted by, I think, 6 or even 7 charge networks or charge sites asking if they can have a video, but essentially some of them were saying, can we use you and your audience as almost like a consultancy sort of thing? What do you want as EV drivers from a charging site? So I guess anything they're designing from now on would have that in mind. They're doing the research, which is great. So I thought, well, let's do a video about it. I'm not really using this, and this is more for my benefit really, so I can remember what I'm saying. But I thought, let's do a quick video about what charging sites should have coming from an EV driver. The first thing, and I cannot emphasize how much this is a priority. Number one, if the stars were the top of the whiteboard, it would be up there and everything else would be down here. This is the most important thing when it comes to any site, whether it's destination, onward charging, service areas, wherever it is, this is the only thing that you need to start with. Okay, this is what you need to concentrate on. If you're a charge network and you're watching, it is of course reliability. It's literally the key to it all. Genuinely, I would rather have no charging site somewhere than an unreliable one. There's nothing worse than, especially when you're new to EVs and you don't realise that, unfortunately for now, you sometimes need a plan B. So you'd arrive at 10%, you'd go to a charger and it wouldn't be working. And then you'd think, oh, is there one within the next 10, 15 miles from here? No. Well, at least not a rapid one anyway. Well, what are we going to do? And this is something that lets the electric car thing down. It really does make things like the Daily Mail pick up on stories and go, well, there you go, it's rubbish. Basic common sense, basic running of what you do. It's just keeping things working. You're selling a product, give us the product. That's all we ask for. Reliability. This is, I can't emphasize how much of a thing this is. In fact, I think I need to make it bigger. Sorry, it's me going overboard on my analogies once again, but again, this is everything. The stories I could tell over the last, well, since I started driving EVs about 7 years ago, 2015, I could go on for hours with things that make you go, eh? I'll give you 2 very brief examples. I'll try and be quick. We were charging once, just managed to get charging after a 5-minute wait at a rapid charging site that also had a few fast chargers. There were 4 of them, only 3 were working, so 1 was faulty, but fine, we've got another 3 to go off. So we started charging and then 2 people either side of us left and 2 people of course replaced them because it was a busy site and they couldn't start charging, it just wouldn't work. I even got out and said, here, use my card, but no, wouldn't work, any of them. They then rung up the charge network to find out what's going on. 40 minutes later, which in itself is bad enough, but 40 minutes later, we finally found out why we were charging, but they couldn't. It's because the charge server network, whatever you want to call it, the back end office was down. So even though the chargers were working, they couldn't authenticate with the server, with the main office, whatever it is they use. So a single point of failure took what was, at the time, the entire country's network down, or at least most of it. I work in IT. Redundancy is everything. Single point of failure, you're trying to eliminate it where possible. But when it's something as important as fueling people's car, stopping them getting stranded, for example, it's not rocket surgery, is it? I mean, let's face it, it's just a bit of common sense. I can't fathom it. Who turned up to work at one of these charge networks and thought, I've done a good job today, look what I've designed. On the reliability front, information, which is kind of part of the same thing, that also needs to be reliable. There's, again, network, which will remain unnamed, but I'm pretty sure people in the comment section will know who I'm talking about. On their own map, it said that a charger was online, even though everyone over the last 2 months who visited it knew it was offline. Even they knew it was offline, but their map said it was online. So somebody rightly said on to their official Twitter feed, why is this saying it's online when it clearly isn't and hasn't been for some time? And I took a screenshot of this. I won't put it up because I want to try and remain neutral on this one, but I have evidence of it if anybody questions it. The official Twitter feed said this, and I still can't believe it to this day. For the charger to tell the map it's offline, it needs to be online. So it needs to be online to say it's offline. That's like a mortician going, "Are you dead?" No, he's not dead. It's basics. It's basic answering the phone on time. I don't know, sometimes you just think these people do it deliberately. It's almost like they've got another arm that wants to slow down the electric car revolution because they can keep selling something else. I'll move away from this. I think I've spent enough time in making my point that reliability is everything. Okay, so let's imagine we have a reliable network. What next on the list of priorities? Now this is more of a want than an absolute need, but I think in no real particular order, the next thing I would pick is match the charger to the location, should I say. So charger, bloody hell, I can't spell. Really, what's wrong with me today? Charger type. Usual example, IKEA. They have 2 rapid chargers in a store that you can't go in and out of within an hour or 2 or 3, depending on what you're doing. I mean, if you are genuinely going there to do some shopping and pick your wardrobes or whatever, you're going to be there for at least 2 or 3 hours, especially if you eat as well. So if you go there with your electric car, plug it into the fastest charger available, it will be done in anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes-ish. And all you're going to do is end up blocking that charger for everybody else in the queue. And then when you come out of the store after doing your shopping, people will shout at you. Now, you could walk out of the store and move your car to a normal parking spot, but this is IKEA. It takes half an hour just to find the exit, let alone get out. And then you'd have to get back to the middle of the store again. And well, you get my point. The charger doesn't make sense. They cost tens of thousands of pounds installed for a rapid charger. That's the big ones with the huge connection that do it in like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, depending on the size of your battery. That's a lot of money, and I applaud them for putting them in. You know, IKEA were kind of the first to do this, but why not spend that tens of thousands of pounds on 20 or 30 fast chargers where in a few hours you're going to get maybe 100 miles, more than you've used to get to the store and back. So again, make it make sense. Whatever charger you put in, if it's a destination, if it's a cinema, for example, you don't want a rapid charger that's done in half an hour. You want fast chargers where someone can just leave it for hours and it's always charging. You're not blocking it for anybody. So yeah, type of charger, think about the location and what would suit it best. Next on the list, I think we'll go for payment. Now this isn't so much of an issue anymore. It's got a lot better than it used to be even a year or 2 back. But I'll emphasize it again. Contactless payment. Okay, the payment method should be, you can have an app. I don't mind an app, certainly for the benefits or it's a bit cheaper, but contactless payment on every charger. Even fast chargers. And I know a couple of the bigger charge networks say, oh, we're not putting contactless payment chargers on a fast charger at a supermarket. It makes no financial sense. Even though I can pay a 20p parking ticket in a council car park, I can pay my window cleaner with contactless payment. You can pay anything with contactless payment. I can't believe a post which already has two-way communication with their back end, with their office, with their servers, why they can't include it, or at least from now on. Charge a few pence extra, I don't care. Just give us the ability to use contactless payment. No stupid RFID cards. Again, I don't mind an app, but not as an only option. I think the next one would be the layout of the charger itself, the charging bay. So the vast majority, Tesla included, you either reverse up to or you drive up to the charger, and then depending on obviously where your port is, you plug it in. However, if anybody is towing, whether it's a caravan or just a little tent thing or whatever, very, very few of them can you get to your charger. Again, I'll use Tesla as an example. I own a Tesla. If you're towing anything, tough. You have to take the thing off to be able to charge. Or you can park clear side on across lots of bays and block about 5 of them, which again would be extremely selfish. It's just none of them are designed for that in mind. There's a few Ionities where you can pull side on. So whether you park that way or you know the other way, you can go either side. Even if there's something behind you, you can charge. It still makes sense. Now, it doesn't have to be every charging place, you know, but just every site needs at least 1 or 2, or in fact, I won't say 1 or 2. It needs a percentage of chargers that anyone can access. Remember, this is something which in another, 13 years, when the PHEVs get banned because a plug-in hybrid that's not plugged in is just a petrol car. So we've got until 2035 in the UK where we can still buy at least new petrol cars. So we've got another 13 years before people will go, right, okay, I'll buy a new car, I'll buy an electric one. And it can, by then, towing should be a problem, ranges will be much better. But if you can't charge on 95% of the network, it's going to cause problems. Whilst we're on the subject of layout, disabled users. A lot will have a curb or some sort of barrier there, so you can't physically get, let's say, a wheelchair near the charger, let alone lift up what is a very heavy cable, plug it into your car and get your RFID card or your contactless payment out and all that sort of stuff. It's just, it could be made a lot easier. This is less of a thing for me, not because I'm really rich YouTuber, but cost. Everyone will be different. There will be variations, of course. It's the nature of business. But I would rather have something be slightly more expensive and reliable than make it as cheap as possible. Like a petrol station, there's going to be some that are slightly cheaper than others, but inevitably you'll end up with probably everybody around the same sort of level. It has to even out eventually. I don't mind membership schemes where you can pay so much a month and get it cheaper. That's fine for the heavier users. But as long as you can pay with contactless payment and the cost is, how shall I put this, justified, then I don't mind it. I don't understand why you have some at this price and some at this price when they're offering the same thing. Where's the justification there? And forgetting the current price cap and all that nightmare, as I'm filming this, there is going to be a price cap for businesses now as well. I just don't know what it is. So the £1 Osprey thing clearly isn't going to happen anymore. I knew it wasn't, but everybody used it as a reason why, no point getting an EV now, £1 per kilowatt hour. Just settle down, give things time. This is going to be something which I think is going to be further up the list, growing in importance, especially if you had the choice of 3 or 4 charging sites wherever you're visiting. You probably base it on amenities. Where are you going to eat? What's the toilet like? I'll give you an example. If we ever go to Scotland, we always stop at the same service area. Not because it makes sense from a charging point of view. It doesn't, actually. It'd be handier if it was 30, 40, 50 miles in the distance, because then it would be the most efficient charging stop. But we always go to T-Bay services because it's the nicest place to stop. Get something to eat. It's like a farm shop for those that aren't familiar. But we use that because of the amenities that they have, not because of the charging site or the location or anything like that. If you're doing a long journey, which one should we pick? Well, you would pick the one with the best amenities. And I don't just mean, has it got a Burger King or a McDonald's? But I guess it could be something as silly as that. Do you feel safe? In fact, I'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, amenities, that is a big thing. There's quite a few dotted around Scotland that I've visited that clearly the charger's there because of the location. It's in between 2 other places. And especially when you're talking about the Highlands, it makes sense to put one there. But when you plug in, you basically, well, I won't say in the middle of nowhere, but there's nothing around other than a few houses, and you just think, well, I guess I'll sit in the car then. That's why that Morrison's one that I keep mentioning makes a lot of sense. You got nice toilets, you got, well, a supermarket in terms of food. You could do your shopping whilst you're there if you've kind of planned it that way, or even if you're just passing through. You think, oh well, I'll get a quick bite to eat, I'll go to the toilet, and by the time I'm done, I'll be on my way. Touching on what I mentioned earlier, safety. Now I have done a video, that is a terrible F, sorry. I have done a video on this, I don't know, a year or so ago, in terms of quite a lot of the chargers. Certainly in the beginning were in places that again made sense because they were in between two other locations. There's a network out there that put lots of rapid chargers next to hotels, which apart from not making sense due to the destination, they were always at the back of the car park in an unlit area. Well, usually, not always, but usually. And I remember one specifically, it was again at the back of the car park, but none of it was lit. It was literally pitch black, and the only thing you could see was the charger kind of blue light itself. Yeah, you've got your headlights of your car, but quite frankly, even I felt a bit, ooh, surrounded by just empty car park and, you know, trees and bushes. It wasn't a nice place to be. And that's partly why my wife doesn't like to do long journeys by herself in an electric car, even the Tesla. CCTV, I don't understand why there wouldn't be any CCTV there, especially on something that will cost the charge network tens of thousands of pounds. It's a lot you want to protect, you think, from even vandalism. I agree that yes, sometimes chargers go where they have to because, let's say the council owns the land or something like that. They're not going to put it where it would make most sense and then pay someone lots of money for it. So I know it's not as simple as what I'm making out here, but it has to be eventually. Again, when everybody is using this, when the petrol stations have been replaced with chargers 20, 30, 40 years from now, this has to exist, especially this. Okay, well, I'm pretty much done. There are a few minor things I would, bring up here. A lot of people wanted a canopy, for example, on a charger at the Morrison's. I'm not too bothered for that because once you've plugged it in and whacked your card on the side, you then sit in your car. It's not like a petrol station where, again, you stood next to it getting wet. That's why they put a canopy on a petrol station roof, because you're always outside. Is there anything that you would go, actually, I want this as well? What about this? What about this? Fill the comment section up with ideas. And you know what? I want stories. Have you had any equivalent head scratchers? Like, how has this happened? How has this reliable charger not worked for so long? It's going to be a very busy comment section, I surmise, with the amount of charging horror stories. But yeah, I mean, has anybody had any safety concerns? What does your other half, either side, think about charging in the dark at night in a random place? Right, okay, I'm done. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Oh, like, subscribe, join, like, comment, subscribe, like, and comment.